let's jump into our running backs because that's the premium position everyone wants to talk about, right? It's going to start out, and if you want to know, you can just follow this. I'm reading off of our article in Fantasy Football Universe where we talk about each of the positions. So before we do that, let me hit up the teams on bye. So the teams on bye this week, the 4 teams on bye, we have the Arizona Cardinals, Carolina Panthers, the New York Giants, and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's a lot of quality running backs, right? Like you're missing Tyrone Tracy, you're missing Chuba Hubbard, the potential Jonathan Brooks, you're missing James Conner, you're missing Trey Benson, you are missing the two-headed monster that is down in Tampa Bay, Rashad White and Bucky Irving. So a lot of decent running backs on those teams. The first guy that we're going to talk about, deep league options, Audric Estimé. When I wrote this article, he was at 7%. He's up to 9% rostered. It's just over for Javonte Williams. If you want to look at how the game went for Javonte Williams, it's just he was in early, and then what happened is they shifted starting on the third drive, they shifted to Audric Estimé. He didn't get the ball back. So it was like, all right, I guess this is the thing with Audric Estimé. We talked about this, and I've heard multiple people talk about this with Audric Estimé, that there's the potential for him to take the job from Javonte Williams. And it happened here, man. 14 carries, 53 yards. Now, the thing about Audric Estimé, he's never been a pass catcher, even in his time back in college for Notre Dame. He's just been he's a big body. He's a good rusher. It's like when we talked about Gus Edwards, like I heard that mentioned a lot. And yeah, he's similar to Gus Edwards like that. He's going to be an efficient running back. He's going to give you a lot of looks. Like he could be fine. He's going to have the goal line role in this offense and the early down role in this offense. Now, it's capped upside because he's not going to get any pass catching work. So you kind of have to take that into consideration. But overall, when you're needing a guy, if you have a bunch of buys this week, or if you have guys in like week 12, which have buys, which there's 6 teams on buy in week 12. So you got to pay attention to not just this week, the weeks in the future. Week 12, you could see a lot of teams in need for that running back production because guess who they play? The Las Vegas Raiders. And that is a sweet, sweet matchup for any running back. So particularly, I think that is a nice one. We should do that. I think that's a very good idea to go do that. So yeah, if you can get Estimé, I think you should be able to get him across the board. But if we want to talk about like the 3 opponents besides that, he's got Atlanta this week. It's a good matchup. He has Cleveland this week. They're all in the bottom half of the NFL in rushing expected points and success rate against the rush. So they're all bottom of like half of the league. He is game script dependent, but like it's really hard to find this type of running back. Starting running backs, like they're very hard to find. And it's a capable offense. Bo Nix is doing decent with it. The other guys in this tier, Trey Benson, obviously he's on a bye. Trey Benson is more the long-term push. If, like, we saw him get a little bit more usage in this game last week, so we'll see if that sticks with him. He's at 25%. Blake Corum, these are the high-priority handcuffs. Blake Corum, 23% rostered. He should be on every league, man, because if Kyron Williams goes down, Blake Corum steps into one of the best roles in the NFL. And it's really that simple, right? So I would do that. The third guy, Jaylen Wright. I want Jaylen Wright on all my rosters because we talked about this. He has 2 outs. He either has to beat out Mostert, which he did, or take over for a Mostert injury. Or on the flip side, if Devon Achane gets injured, he steps into that role. And I think that's the better upside case for him. But if you're giving Jaylen Wright Raheem Mostert's role, you're just siphoning that off to Jaylen Wright. He's just going to be more explosive. He's going to be more efficient. He's going to be better for you. So I do want to see how the goal line usage shakes out in this backfield because that's been Raheem Mostert's job pretty much. And I don't know if he's going to keep that or not. But we saw Jaylen Wright passing the snaps. That's the first step. So it's a good offense. You see what they do with Devon Achane, man. That's like they're very much featuring the running backs and tight ends on the team, and that's why Jonnu Smith's going to come up later. Tight ends. The wide receivers have a sub 50% target share on the team, and that's with Tyreek and Jalen Waddle. Don't know what's going on in Miami, but that's how they're treating it. So overall, I think you could do it with Jaylen Wright. And the next guy, Cam Akers, we talked about, he's 20% rostered. This is in case Aaron Jones misses this game. Now, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't, but it's a potential. And if he's on waivers, you can grab him just to see. In case you need production this week, what we could talk about, maybe you're missing Tracy, maybe you're missing James Conner, these types, like you can plug and play him, right? But I think Audric Estimé should be the top one because he's going to give you production. The ceiling case might not be as high as Corum and Wright and Benson particularly, but the floor is much higher with him because you know he's going to get double-digit touches each and every week. So, it's definitely worth adding. Now we're going to go to medium leagues, the 26 to 50% of roster players on sleeper leagues. The top guy is Braylon Allen, 42% of leagues. Now, this tier is all very similar players. I'll list them out right now. We have Ray Davis, the Buffalo Bills, 35%. Tyler Algier of the Atlanta Falcons, 49%. Tajay Spears in Tennessee, 45%. Still like Tajay Spears. I get it. That was a very bad call for me. Still think he's a talented running back, and they're giving him more work because their season is put over there, so they're seeing what they have. But excuse me, the last guy, Zach Charbonnet. All of these guys have high priority handcuff abilities. Now, the starter goes down in front of them. We already saw that with Charbonnet. you get massive upside with this range. The difference in why I like Braylon Allen the most is because of the freaking fantasy schedule. Of the remaining 7 games the Jets play, all the teams are bottom 17 in fantasy points allowed. So they're bottom half of the league. And 5 of them are like outside the top 20 in this category. So they just give up a ton of fantasy points to the running back position. That's why I like Braylon Allen a lot, because if an injury happens, you get what we call as the true league winner. Like we're talking about, like he steps into that role. Some guys, you've seen it with Cam Akers where he stepped in the role in Houston. Obviously, that's not a league winner because he's not doing enough for you, splitting for you. But he can get by. When you get a player like this, where we saw with Zach Charbonnet earlier in the year, when they're going to actually feature that player, and particularly the guys behind him, there's not much competition, right? So he steps into a role to kind of not give you what Breece Hall is doing, but gives you something similar to it. But you can make the case for every single one of these guys, and they should be on rosters because of that. They're all high priority upside plays. So if you want to do the Bray Davis thing, you could do it. Tyler Algier, Tajay Spears, Zach Charbonnet, I think they're all good ads for your team. Now, you might be thinking, well, maybe not. Let's see what you have on the other end. But, like, I just like them. So that's where we're going to go with. We're going to go to shallow leagues. My favorite, I'm still going to keep pounding the table for Jaylen Warren, man. Like, Jaylen Warren is nipping at the heels of Najee Harris because Jaylen Warren's a really good running back. Now, he needs an injury, like most of these running backs, to truly hit the high-end upside we're talking about. But overall, like, I just think it's someone that you should pay attention to. You should be interested in and see where it goes from here, because worst case, you get like a flex level play each and every week. They get Baltimore this week. They're going to be trailing this game. This is how this works out for Jaylen Warren. He's going to be on the field passing down snaps. He's going to, like we saw last week where they were splitting a lot closer with snaps and usage. We're going to see that more because he's running basically 2/3 of the routes compared to Najee running 1/3 of the routes. He has the passing down role secure, 2-minute drive secure. He has all that. It really comes in just how much he can eat into the early down work for him. So against Baltimore, I know it's not a dream matchup. They're one of the most pass funnel defenses in the NFL. They might be the premier pass funnel defense. But what that means is that works for the pass catching back in this offense. So I like Jaylen Warren. I think he's just a good rest of season play for you. One of the guys that has decent upside. Now, you can talk about it, and if you're worried, I understand it. You're not going to find the Tyrone Traces of the world. This is why I put in the notes. It's a sad day not seeing his name in this category because he left past the 75% threshold. The other guy who's on a bye, who people are not going to want to get, is Jonathan Brooks. You see what happens, because post bye, like we've been talking about this with Jonathan Brooks, we don't know how it's going to go anymore. I was very much on the Jonathan Brooks train. Looks like I'm going to be wrong with that one. We'll see how it plays out at the end of the year. But with the season, it's basically done. We'll see how they go about treating those running backs, and if they want to just grind Chuba into the core of the earth and just ride him, or they give Jonathan Brooks some runway and see how it goes, where it's a 1-2 punch in that backfield. It could be interesting.